Hey, there is a verse that I hear used a lot for marriage. I'm sure we're familiar with it. It's Hebrews 13, verse 4. It says, marriage should be honored by all, and the marriage bed kept pure, for God will judge the adulterer and all the sexually immoral. And usually when this verse is used, it is used as, reason why, when you're married, you can do, different things on the marriage bed, sexually immoral things. You can do the same sexual acts that the world performs in your bedroom because you're married. Automatically, for some reason, this verse, and even in the Song of Solomon as well, I've seen people use that book as, well, this is why we can do this act, this is why we can do sodomy, this is why we can put our faces between each other in their private parts, because the marriage bed is pure, it's undefiled. But as soon as you do those acts, you have defiled the marriage bed, because those acts, those sexually immoral, those perverted sexual acts have no reason to be in your bedroom. It does not matter if you are married. When you do those things, you're giving the enemy rights into your marriage. I know for a fact that those acts are sexually immoral, and they should not be done by those who are calling themselves children of God. They should not be done by us. I had a dream, because I've dealt with a lot of sexually immoral things in my own life since a child, and I know about these things that you shouldn't know about since a child, because when I would go to bed, there would be sexual demons coming to me in my dreams, trying to have sex with me, or just being perverse in my dreams. And then I remember every time I would have those dreams, I would go and do some sexual immoral act, because I had such a problem with masturbation. And that was from my childhood. That was introduced to me through being molested. So that masturbation, that sexually immorality, that followed me, and that was something from my youth, since I was probably around 4 years old, started doing that. And I remember in a dream, this was probably like 4 years ago, and in the dream, it was a spirit spouse that was there. It was a demon, and he wanted me to do, I don't even know how to explain it, but where you put your hand between somebody's partner, and the world calls it giving head, but that is what the enemy wanted me to do in that dream. So that's what the demon wanted me to do, but I was like, do not defile me, like, do not defile me. So that did not take place in that dream. So yeah, these acts are perverted. No one should be performing these acts. There is nothing pure about that. That literally perverts how he wanted us to be with a man or a woman in marriage. It's a perversion. So yeah, let's not use those verses, Song of Solomon or Hebrews 13 verse 4, to justify sexual immorality. Because if you can't get those things, if you still have a taste for the same acts, the same sexual acts that you did in the world, sexual immorality, that spirit has not gotten out of you, and it's a hard thing to get out. It's a hard thing, like sexual immorality, it is hard to get out. Only through prayer and fasting, those things together, that's the only way how I got out of that cycle of you know, touching myself inappropriately. That's the only way I got out of that, because every time I would have one of those dreams with those spirit spouses, I would go and I would do that. So, and I looked for every excuse in the book to continue in my sexual immoral behavior. I was like, well, the Bible doesn't mention it, you know, there's no exact verse for this, just like there's no exact verse telling you that you should not perform those acts with your husband and wife. But yet we know what perversion is. We know what being sexually immoral is, and sexual immorality does not just happen outside to people who are not married. It happens even in a marriage. You can be doing things that are sexually immoral. If you are touching yourself inappropriately, if you're masturbating, even if you are married, that is sexual immorality. It doesn't matter if what the world calls it foreplay. Cut all of that, because we're called to be set apart. We're not called to still have these lustly desires once we have covenanted ourselves to the Most High, to Yahuwah, in Yahushua's name. Like, we are not called to continue on the way that the world continues on. So why should we continue those acts in our marriage? Certainly not because of the marriage bed. The marriage bed should not be, the marriage bed is undefiled scripture. Certainly not because of that, because that has nothing to do with us committing sodomy, masturbation, or you going and putting your face where it should not belong. Your mouth was not meant to be there. Okay? So, yeah. Be cautious of who you listen to and who gives the advice. There's even elders who have been married for decades who give the same advice, as it's okay to do that. It's okay to do whatever you want in the marriage, because it's between you and your husband. But yeah, I pray that we can all be healed from any sexual immorality that we have picked up, you know, throughout our lifetime, and truly seek God's face in this, so that we can understand his scripture and not just use it as an excuse to continue in our behaviors that we need to let go of. So, alrighty, that's it. Thank you.